Morning, everybody. What is up? What is going on? Welcome to a new show of the Daily Mind Podcast. Let me turn that light on. Damn, that was some weird ass loud sound I just had. Thanks for joining me this morning. And of course, actually, no, I think I should just have the light on. Thanks for excuse me. Thanks for joining me this morning on this show. 501 episodes. We just kicked off season 21 yesterday with a 500th episode, which is amazing in itself. Thanks for joining me this morning and this evening or wherever you are in time. Hold on, I think I got my co-host in time. Hold on, I think I got my co-host joining me this morning. Damn, did you wait for me to get on the show or what? Oh, who's that? I got the little ones. I got the little ones on the show this morning. Who's that?
It's Mateo.
I was expecting Sophie, but no, he's also a welcome cameo sometimes from time to time. What's going on, little ones? Anyway, welcome to the show. It's Sunday morning where I'm at, of course, and it's nice and sunny outside, and I'm just feeling pretty refreshed. How is everyone's weekend going so far? And if you joined me on yesterday's episode, I do appreciate it very much. Bringing in 500 episodes and bringing in the 21st season of the show, which is monumental. Anyway, so before I kick off the show, my weekend's going okay. Now, yesterday, I went and got a shape up, whatever the case is, and I was heading to the supermarket, and where I'm stationed at, is like half of the damn post is a golf course, and I almost got hit with this shit yesterday. This shit came out of nowhere, bounced in the street.
Damn.
And damn, they came at me. It's a Kirkland 3 signature golf ball, dude. Let me tell you something. That was the funniest shit. Because it's like where I'm at, like a good portion of our duty station, the post, is a golf course. And it's mostly like the older Koreans that come by and they golf. They spend all this money on golf. All they do is golf every single day. And the way they have the place, they have these huge netting walls where it's supposed to catch these balls. But nah, this shit bounced in the street, which could have easily hit a car. But it bounced off the street. There was no car, and that shit came right at me. And luckily, the trees and the bounce on the street like kind of slowed down the velocity of this ball. They weren't getting this shit back. I kept it. I kept the damn ball. They were not getting that back. But that shit was just wild to me, man. It was wild. So, Rio, what's going on with you, man, now that you're on the show? What's up?
We're chilling. We went to the pool today, hung out.
Oh, nice. It is getting hot out there, man. It's hot
Yeah,
over
it's like
here now.
90 degrees here.
Shit, we're creeping into the 80s, and the heat hits a little different out here, man. I don't know. Even like 80 degrees feels like 90 out here. But yeah, we're getting up there in temperature as well. So yeah, I mean, summer is right around the corner. We got like what, a few more weeks till summer, a couple of more weeks till June. Yeah, it's coming around the corner. But anyway, though, yeah, man, I thought that shit was funny with the golf ball. But it ain't funny until your ass get hit. And then it would have been no way for me to tell who hit this ball. But I did see a group that I guess was not far. But, I mean, I'm more than likely it would have been somebody from that group. But who the fuck would have claimed it? They would have sat there and hit me with the I don't speak English. And then before you know it, I'm just sitting there wasting my damn time. So I was like, I kept the ball and kept it moving. All right, folks. Now that we got the season in swing, it's time to get on to the topic of talk. Now, I spent a good portion of last night trying to figure out what today's show was going to be. But then I came across a meme, right? This meme, it was a picture of a woman and a man in bed. Now, the dude is whacking his turkey in bed while his wife is in the bed with him, but she's turned over, right? And she has this face of concern, like, yo, why is my husband doing this and he's not doing anything with me kind of deal. And I was like, yo, that's kind of crazy. I don't know people that do that, but there are people that do that. So tonight, you know, it made me think, like, what would possess a guy who is in bed with his woman, right, to still whack it to himself while his woman's in bed? Now, you figured, yo, why don't he just, like, get some from his wife or whatever? But there's got to be a reason why this dude is whacking it in the bed while his wife is in there. Now, I've seen another picture where it was a drawing of a guy. He's asking himself, what about tonight? You know, can we do something tonight? She's like, no, I'm not in the mood. And then I kind of put two and two together. Like, why would this guy be whacking his turkey while his wife is in the bed? So it became apparently clear to me that somewhere along the lines the thrill is gone, right? There's got to be a reason why this dude is whacking it in the bed. So tonight we're going to talk about sexless marriages because, believe it or not, they exist. Sexless marriages. Why do they exist? Can a marriage survive without sex? Some people think it can, and some people say it can't. Now, there are some relationships that are indeed sexless and is still going strong today. But what is the secret? How are they doing this, right? Because, consummation of the marriage. Hey, what's going on, Wads? Good morning. Long time no speak. Good morning to you. Thanks for stopping by. Hey, Real, let me ask you something. Do you think a sexless marriage can survive?
Yeah.
You think so? Okay, so what do you think it would take? Because, that's a lot of willpower.
No,
What
I'm
would it
just joking.
take?
I don't know.
So I don't know. But think. Do you think you and your missus, right? You guys think you guys can survive without having sex?
No.
Do you think you could go without sex for 1 month?
Yeah.
You think so? Have you guys tried that?
No.
Yeah, of course not. but it's doable though. It is.
I gotta bounce, Eddie. I'll see you though.
All right, man. I'll talk to you later. Thanks for stopping by.
Yeah.
All right, but it is possible. All right. He said no, but that's what I'm saying. Like some marriages can keep that shit going, and then in some cases to keep it going, sometimes you have to try something new. And sometimes that something new is either some wild, crazy act or the route of swinging, which I have talked about numerous times on this show. Anyway, we're going to go over sexless marriages. And for those who stopping by on the show saying hello, whatever the case is, if you want to join in on this conversation, feel free to do so. I'm pretty sure there's somewhere in the chat, somebody has a story to tell about perhaps maybe somebody that they know that's in a sexless marriage, or they might be in one themselves. If you are in a sexless marriage, I would love to know your secret. All right. Now, me personally, I'm married, right? I'm not in a sexless marriage. But honestly, we don't have as much as we used to, and that's whatever, right? That's not what we're based upon, but it's definitely not sexless. But the question is, can sexless marriages work? Can they continue? All right, so we're going to get kicked off with some sexless marriage statistics of 2025, all right? We're not even through the year yet, and there's already statistics. But these statistics probably hold true for the past few years. So we'll see. We're going to ease into that. And I'm going to invite some people onto the show as I go along. You can choose to jump on the show or not. It's whatever. But I would love to get some sort of real interaction with someone who is married, right? How often do you have sex, if you have sex at all? Or if you're in a sexless marriage, how do you make it work? Because it's insane. You know what I mean? I personally think a sexless marriage can work if the marriage's foundation is not based on sex. If all the other pillars and 5 love languages or whatever is cemented in the foundation of your marriage and it didn't start off with just sex, I think you'll be okay. All right, but I did find an article of 15 fascinating sexless marriage statistics for 2024. Oh, 2024. It said 2025 at first, which would be impossible because we're not even through 2025 yet. So I apologize. There's a site called todateforlove.com that I found. And it's an article written by Nicolina Jarek. And she writes this article, 15 fascinating sexless marriage statistics for 2024. Not 2025. We're not even done with the damn year yet. All right. Anyway, I'm going to read this article just to get things kicked off. And then later on in the show, I'm going to read some stories, courtesy of BuzzFeed and Reddit, of people who are in these predicaments. Because at the end of the day, this is real. A sexless marriage is real. All right. And unfortunately, some relationships falter because of this one thing. We don't need sex to survive. We need sex to procreate and keep the species going. But people act like if they don't have sex for a month, they're going to wither away. You know what I mean? Or this shit is going to shrink up. No, it's not a necessity, like food and water perhaps. But no. You don't need sex. Maybe mentally you probably do. For some people, without it, they're losing their mind. Just imagine, you ever work with somebody or been around somebody who is sexually frustrated? They haven't had any in a long time, and they bring their energy to work, and before you know it, they're just all over the place over everybody. It happens. It truly happens. But anyway, I digress. I'm going to get into the 15 fascinating sexless marriage statistics of 2024. And listen, ladies, I'm already having a hard enough time getting women on the show. I would love to hear your side of things as to whether or not a marriage can survive, or, are you always in the mood? I've learned one thing from my wife, and the one thing I've learned is that there are times, she made a really good point, and I've heard this across the board, is that women they have sex based on emotions, right? If they're not feeling it, or you piss them off, whatever, they ain't gonna give it up. And then maybe some other women I can't speak for, but that's typically my wife. If I fuck up, she ain't gonna do it. And there's nothing I can do about it. It says a large percentage of married couples don't have sex on anything approaching a regular basis. Now, whether it's shame, embarrassment, or fear of social stigmatization, people do not want to share their concerns and talk about the issue. It could be a very sensitive issue, talking about intimacy in bed. Now, come on, let's be honest. Women talk to other women about their acts in bed, and men do the same thing. You understand? It's another way of venting out, getting some sort of a therapy, or even getting advice from somebody who may be in the same situation. Like, for example, guys like, yo, my wife don't put out, she doesn't want to try nothing new. And the other dude is like, well, why don't you try this? Now, not all advice is good advice, all right? So you have to be, the thing about advice is that you don't have to take it, and you don't feel like it's good advice. So you have to be very selective on the advice and some of the tips or whatever to keep things going without making shit that much worse. Now, it says many wonder what happens when a woman loses interest in her husband, but tend to disregard that it whirls the other way around too. True. I'm breaking this down as I go along. So there are men that are no longer sexually interested in their women, in their wives or fiance. Yes, this happens. This happens. One thing about human nature is that we are wired to crave for something new. And in some cases, some guys and gals, deep down in the back of their medulla, are really thinking about other people sometimes. I'm not saying everybody's thinking about having sex with other people, but let's be real, it does come across a thought or two once or twice in people's psyches, because that's just the way human nature is wired. But it works both ways, where the man loses interest and the woman loses interest. Now, it says, understanding the underlying cause of a sexless marriage and remembering that you're not alone is a vital part of having a more fulfilling relationship with your spouse. Now, the sexless marriage statistics and facts found below in the article are there to break the stigma, show you how real the problem is, and to help you reestablish trust with your partner in 2022. Let's say today, not 2022. But this is a real problem. There are marriages, as we speak, that are breaking up just based on the idea that no one is putting out anymore, or they're not showing any sexual interest. You know what I mean? When shit is going south, if the woman or whatever is showing off, like running around in her panties in the house or whatever, and the husband ain't paying no attention. He is locked in on whatever he's doing, whether it be watching the game or playing the game or whatever. He ain't paying her no mind. And in her mind, she might just be thinking, oh, he's not interested in me anymore, or he's not attracted to me anymore, or just whatever, right? Or the ultimate one, he's seeing someone else, which is not always the case, people. It's not. But it can be the precursor to, in some cases, not all right? Now, the top 10 sexless marriage statistics for 2024 was starting off with this first fact, whether you agree or disagree, but it is evident. Gen X and millennials have the least amount of sex. I can't confirm or deny that, because I'm not sitting there following everybody's sex life. All right, after 4 years of marriage, only 48% of married women want regular sex. I believe this because this is what led to this article to begin with. You understand what I'm saying? After a while, there are physical, mental changes that happen with women. Some women lose their libido. There's menopause, and then there's these other things, and then there's just other mental problems or whatever, or just self-doubt. You know what I mean? Or just there's so many variables that go into that particular statistic. This next one, sexless marriage statistics report that 12% of midlife women and 7% of women 65 and older report low libido. Yeah, don't get me wrong, there are some freaky ass 50, 60-year-old women out there. But this is true. I mean, when women, or not all women though, right? It depends, hit menopause. At that point, it seems like a lot of women just kind of lose it. They just lose whatever sex drive they have, but there are some women that still continue a very strong sex drive even past menopause. Not every woman is wired the same biologically, yeah, but some women are a little bit wired differently when it comes to shit like this. Next fact is experts define sexless marriage as the couple having sex less than 10 times per year. That to me is a gray area. Less than 10 times a year? Who is having sex less than 10 times a year in a marriage, people? Now, look, I don't keep count of how many times I have sex in a month, a day, or a year. But if you're in a marriage where you're having sex less than 10 times a year, that is damn near a sexless marriage. I'm going to be honest with you. I don't know what you're going to do about that. I don't know how. You understand what I'm saying? They even have sex therapy for couples. They have therapy for couples where, if sex or lack of is the problem, you can find ways. You can go get therapeutic help for it. Captain Jays, welcome. I see you over there in the chat showing some love. Appreciate it, of course. Thank you. In case you haven't caught the caption, tonight's episode is Sexless Marriages. We're talking little to no sex in a marriage at all. I'm talking about the thrill is gone and the flame is out type shit. All right, this next fact here, because there's a few of them. Of course, if you're just joining the show, I'm on tonight's episode is Sexless Marriages, and I'm reading some statistics from a website called todateforlove.com, right? And we're going to go over this. No, that's not me. No, listen, we are not in a sexless marriage. In fact, we just did this a couple of days ago. We did the thing and she knocked me right the fuck out. I mean, it was pretty good. But no, I'm not in a sexless marriage. All right. And we've been married for a while. I mean, I think we are physically, emotionally, and sexually established. We don't need to have it every single day. No, we don't. You understand what I'm saying? I think personally, a relationship can suffer from sexual fatigue. I believe if you're having sex every day, especially if you're not even doing anything new, you're doing the same old missionary shit, whatever. I think that can kind of get stale in some relationships. Now, some relationships are cool with that. You know what I mean? Just keeping it straight to the point. You know what I mean? No ropes and chains and tips and tricks. Just regular old missionary. All right, this next fact, roughly 61% of people believe intimacy is essential in a marriage, according to the Sexless relationship stats. I think it's more than 61%. It's got to be like 80% of people believe this because, like I said, there are people in these marriages that feel like, yo, when the sex stopped, that's it. Like, I'm done. You know what I mean? But it says roughly 61% of people believe intimacy is essential. I think it is essential. But there are ways around this to somewhat physically stimulate. But hello? I don't know. Hey, Skinless Chicken, welcome to the show. My other executive producer and co-host. What's going on?
Just getting ready. Possibly, we're gonna go hit up one of these car meets tonight.
Ooh, damn, a car meet, man. I would love to find a car meet, man, because I could take some pictures and some shit like that. And I don't know, I haven't seen anything like that out here.
Yeah, one of my detail guy actually hit me up about this one tonight, and he told me about another one next weekend. It's the one next weekend is like more of a bigger one. So I actually submitted my car to be put into that car show. Like, they asked for all kinds of shit, dude. Like, they want interior mods, exterior mods, sponsorships, Instagram links, just like a whole 9 yards. And then now I'm just waiting for them to send me an email if I'm approved or not.
Well, shit, I mean, you're pretty well established, and you do have sponsorships, and you have some advertising on your car. I think you'll be all right. And it's pretty clean, too. So I think you'll be all right, man. Hopefully they'll tell you, they'll get you out there. And then, you can make a lot of social networking connections out there with other people, exchange Instagrams and shit like that. And, people can put you on the shit. So it's more than just showing off the car, but getting to know other people who shares this interest and then getting connections. That's the big thing, getting connections. All right, man, but...
When I was part of Nashville Subaru, I would go to Cars and Coffee every month.
Nice.
Pretty legit because we had our own little parking spot and everything like that. But I was I didn't have a lot of shit done to the car that I do now. So It might be different.
No, that's all right. Because there's some people that go to these things bare bones, damn near. As long as the car is clean and they ain't all dented up and shit. You know what I mean? And think of it like there's probably like a Toyota RAV4 meet. You know what I mean? There's a meet for like every type of car. It could be like for Geo Metros. A lot of people think when there's car meets, it's for like high end shit. Nah, I don't know. There's a fan base.
I went to another car meet today. I just stumbled upon it. I was driving by and I saw it. This one had like a bunch of like Impalas, fucking lowriders with hydraulics and shit on it. It's pretty cool.
See, that's what I'm saying. There's a car meet for damn near every type of fucking car. Hell, there's probably a fucking car meet for Jeeps, just Jeeps. You know what I mean, with ducks and shit on them. You know, there's one for everyone. But tonight we're talking about sexless marriages. We're talking like damn near little to no sex in a marriage and whether or not it can survive. I'm reading over some statistics in case you didn't catch this last one. This last one is roughly 61% of people believe that intimacy is essential in a marriage according to sexless relationship stats. Captain Spaulding, what's going on, man? It's been a minute. Join in on the live if you can. Tonight's show is sexless marriages. Can they survive? Skinless, what do you think about some of these things about sexless marriage? Do you think a marriage can survive without sex?
I'm gonna go with no. I think that's with like every relationship, not like just marriage, though.
Now, don't get me wrong, though. There are some marriages that are still going with no sex. If you can believe that, it is happening. It is happening. It says,
Are they willful though? Like,
I don't know. It doesn't get
out there where the dude's like, "Let me get some of them cake. Let me get some of that." No, I'm not in the mood tonight. That type shit.
And see, no, that's funny you said that because this is what inspired the episode because I've seen a couple of those meme drawings. There was one dude that was in the bed with his wife and he was beating it, but his wife was turned over facing the other way with a face of like concern. And then there was the other picture I've seen where the dude was asking and she was just like, no, not tonight. And he's like, it's been like 3 weeks, you know, that kind of deal. So it's like, what is going on? And women defend this, right? I've read women's version to this and women said there has to be an emotional connection or whatever. Like, let's say, for example, the guy pissed her off or has been pissing her off and she's just not feeling it. You know what I mean? You ever hear some women that say, like, oh, I'm not feeling it right now. It's because there's that emotional, mental attachment to it. But to some women, sex is based on emotion, not just always the lust. And I learned that from my wife, too, because there's been times I pissed her off and I'm in the mood, and she said that to me. She was like, you know, I have to be emotionally ready. And I didn't realize that shit until to that moment. I was like, okay, well, that makes a lot of sense. But what if it's more than just that? What if it's just no matter what, even if you're not like doing dumb shit and she still say no, then is that an indicator of something more sinister? Possibly. It could be. It could be. A lot of people are going to jump on it and say, oh, no, she's cheating. Or it's got to be somebody else in the picture. And it works two ways, too, because let's just say a woman is walking around the house giving hints and clues like, yo, I want to do this. She's walking around naked or, you know, no top on. But all of a sudden, he ain't paying no attention to her. Now, what do you think that's an indicator of?
It could be two things, I think. It could be one, there's somebody else. Or two, he just doesn't have that physical attraction no more.
It's either one of the two. And that's like the two most solid answers to it all. You understand what I'm saying? And then in her mind, she's thinking he's either cheating and he's not attractive to me anymore. And it works just like that. Because the dude is just locked in on playing video games or watching a movie, watching sports. But this is like, you know, maybe that one day she's probably like, oh, I'm going to just let him be. But if it's every time she's throwing the clues and hints and he's just zoned in on what he's doing, then it's like, okay, there's got to be some sort of a discord. It has to be something going on. All right, this next fact. On average, married Americans have sex 51 times per year. I don't know if that's right. And again, I don't even keep count on how many times I go at it. It's impossible. Who the fuck's sitting there keeping tally marks on the side of their bed like, oh, yeah, that's 25 this year so far, dear. That's about 2 more than last year. Who's doing that? You understand what I'm saying? Nobody keeps count. And then sexless marriage facts show that a sharp decline in the amount of sex people have during their first year of marriage. Yeah, I guess I wouldn't say it's a sharp decline. I'd say it's a gradual. Because the first year of marriage, everything is fresh, everything is new, honeymoon phase. So the first year is always going to have the most sex happening. But I wouldn't say it's a sharp decline after the first year. I'd say it's a more gradual decline. All right, couples in sexless marriages consider divorce more often than couples who have regular sex. Yeah, because again, sex nowadays is the most important part of a marriage, it seems. And when that's gone, then it's like, okay. But then that
You
begs the
said one of the
question.
most important, or is the most important?
It's one of the most important. I wouldn't say is, but it's like it says that sexless marriage fact shows. No, I'm sorry. Couples in sexless marriages consider divorce more often than couples who have regular sex. But my thing is this: if the sex dies down and you're thinking about divorce, then what was the marriage really about? Was it really just about the sex?
Probably.
You know, it probably was. Because if you laid the foundation down of your marriage just based on sex, and then the other pillars of the marriage came later on, and the sex dies down by the time that happens, yeah, you're in trouble. Because you're basing your relationship on sex. You think that's going to last forever? No. But if you have these other pillars of love to go along with it, then that can make up for the lack of sex, like companionship and time and shit like that. You know what I mean? That can somewhat help along without the sex, because there are people out there that are not having sex in a marriage and they're doing perfectly fine because they didn't base their relationships on sex. All right, this next fact, it says,
I gotta hop on. Let's go pick up a ride.
all right, yeah. Well, shit, thanks for stopping by. Much appreciate it. You can catch the rest of the show on Spotify. If you don't catch the rest of this, you can catch it on whatever you listen to podcasts. I'll catch you later.
All right, bye.
All right, yep. All right, this next fact, people. We got sexless marriage statistics reveal that the reason you aren't having sex is very important. What? Wait, I'm going to read this again. That came off kind of weird. Sexless marriage statistics reveal that the reason you aren't having sex is very important. And of course, there are 3 common causes of a sexless marriage. I'm breaking down these statistics as much as I possibly can. And again, people, if you're stopping by on the show saying hi, if you somewhat of a subject matter expert on this, or you're in a marriage that you're not getting much nookie at all, this is probably where you might want to chime in, give some insight, whatever the case is, whatever, join in on the show. All right. Now, again, we're talking about sexless marriages and whether or not sexless marriages can survive. Now, I just saw a name down on the chat that's pretty wild. Victor Wet Bananas. That's a wild ass name, man. That's brave. That is a brave name. God damn. All right, people. I'm breaking down more statistics and then we're going to go into story time. General sexless marriage statistics to keep in mind, okay? If you're one of these people that's in trouble, you might want to listen to some of this. Maybe it might help. Now, I'm not a licensed therapist, all right, at all. Don't let the glasses fool you. But again, you might learn a thing or two. Although it can feel like it's the end of the world and love as we know it is not, here are the key numbers and facts about this issue to help you get a clearer picture of how frequent it is and what are the factors which can contribute to a sexless marriage. Ain't nobody fooled, Jim. Hey, don't play yourself. I know. Don't let the glasses fool you. Shut up, James. You're trying to play me all the time. All right, here's one fact, all right? Sexless marriage statistics report that 12% of midlife women and 7% of women 65 and older report low libido. It said a third of these women who are between the age of 45 and 64, and those older than 65 are distressed about the lack of sexual desire. An article states that one of the most significant causes of this issue is menopause. I've said this earlier before, people. And see, this is another reason why older men date younger women. I'm sorry to say it, but that is what it is. It's one of the main reasons is because she is more sexually fulfilling than if he dated somebody around his age. A lot of guys are like, let's say, for example, 45, 50-year-old man. He's like, I ain't going to date somebody my age. Why would I date somebody who's all dried up and can't get pregnant? What if I want more kids? This is the thinking of a lot of men who's older, which is why they date younger. And that's going to be an episode in itself. Actually, no. I did a show on age gaps before, but this was way before TikTok. So I will do another show on age gaps for TikTok. I will do that. But yeah, menopause is like damn near the end of the road for a lot of women. But I said earlier that there are some women out there that could still put it down after menopause. All right. Don't sleep on that. But there's evidence of women's libido dropping. They're not producing the eggs like they used to. And then all these other hormonal changes is happening when they reach that point. And then for some women, it's over. They don't ever want to have sex again. And in some women, they do, but not as much as they did when they were in their 20s and 30s and stuff like that. Now, this next statistic, after 4 years of marriage, only 48% of married women want regular sex. It says, there seems to be a significant drop in the desire for regular sex and intimacy in the marriage after a couple of years. In my case, that wasn't true. A couple of years, no. We're still pretty much going even now. Now, yeah, we don't have it as much, and that's not a bad thing, but it's not to the point where it's at a very sharp, noticeable decline. It says, however, with the statistics on sexless marriages are not that shocking. We all know how passion seems to fizzle out after the knot is tied. The exact reasons on why and what happens when a woman loses interest in her husband are individual and difficult to figure out. Because again, I said before, not every woman is wired the same physically or mentally. But the main proponent to this is definitely menopause. But there are other reasons, right? Self-doubt, self-worth, work life. Sometimes work cuts off your sexual libido too. You know, you're too tired. You come home every day late. You don't want to do nothing but just sleep and rest because you're working all these hours. Yeah, that's another big proponent to it too. It says perhaps it's the aging of the couple and the lack of excitement, or only a lack of time due to being preoccupied with nesting. People, make time. Make time. I don't care what you got to do, but make time, all right? That shit's important. It's no different than you making time for your family or whatever the case is. You got to make time to have something going on in that department. If you let your work life suck the sex out of your life, then the job won. Don't ever let your job win over life. Don't. All right, you may have to make the money and shit like that, but come on. Come on. All right, it says, sexless marriages facts show a sharp decline in the amount of sex people have during their first year of marriage. This was a theory that a man named William James back in 1981 wrote in The Principles of Psychology. Number of sexual intercourses is half near the end of a couple's first year of marriage. According to James, what starts as an average of 17 occasions during the first month of married life drops down to 8 times per month by the end of the year. That's not necessarily true. Mind you, this man wrote this in 1981. I think nowadays we live in a more hypersexualized society, especially it's all over the place, right? Now, I don't think after the first year the sex drops that quickly. The first year is always going to be perhaps your most sexually active in the relationship. But after the first year, if it went from, let's say, for example, you guys having 50 to 75 sessions a year, that first year, and it goes down to 25, it could be a problem. There could be some sort of an indicator, but I don't think it's something that, you know, it's to each of his own. You know what I mean? If you feel it's a problem, that's when you need to speak out. Gen X and millennials have the least amount of sex. Now it says when Gen X and millennials at the bottom of the list, the silent generation is the one that born in the 1930s, seems to have had the most active sex life. However, the causes of these potentially sexist marriages stats are not clear. Well, think about it. The silent era? Remember how everybody has a grandparent that had like 12, 13 kids back in the day. People were bored. There wasn't much shit to do but have sex. Now our minds are way more preoccupied with technology and stuff like that. But back then, your grandparents snuck off to the barn and did the do. And this is why grandparents have like 12 kids, 10 kids, 8 kids, 15 kids. Is because that's all they were able to do back then. It says, just to give one example of the rising age of marriage among younger generations might be a factor, since the frequency of sex is strongly tied to the couple's age. Now, again, experts define sexless marriage as the couple having sex less than 10 times per year. Bro, if you're in a marriage that you're only having sex 10 times a year, I don't know what to make of that. I don't know. It says to gather statistics on a sexless marriage, you need to understand the definition of a sexless marriage. Experts state that a marriage of this nature is where couples are having sex less than once a month or less than 10 times per year. Now, people, we're all adults here. You can chat down below and how many times are you having sex with your wife or your husband per year? You don't need to give an exact number. There's always a guesstimate. If you're having sex once a month, that's how you could break it down. How often do you have sex a month? And then you average it out, you know, every single month for the year. And then it will make all the sense, I guess, at that point. All right, now, this next fact, sexless marriage percentage is hard to obtain, but between 15 to 20% of couples in the United States didn't have sex in the past year. Again, many, many factors. Captain James, back on the show. What's going on?
Wagwan, bad bro, wagwan.
Hey, man, you know, we're talking about sexless marriages, man. You know, there are marriages where people are not having sex at all.
Me see that, me G. Babes, y'all stay out here. Daddy about to go wash his car. Stay right there. Hey, don't do that.
All right, James, let me ask you. Do you think a marriage can survive without sex?
Yeah,
Okay.
it can.
How so? It can. Okay, but how?
You gotta have a side piece.
You have to have a what? Did you say have a side piece?
Yeah, a backup plan. You know, and you don't have to have that at the house. You know, you can always get it on the outside. You know.
See, people, if you're listening and watching, you may think of this as a joke, but he is in some cases he is right. That is for men and women. That is the option, is to
Yep.
step out and find it somewhere else. That is not an option that I condone. All right,
Hey,
but for the sake of sanity, this is what people.
I won't even lie to you. Some people, I believe, would actually do that shit just so that, you know, if their spouse not in the mood for sex or hey.
But you know what's even crazier than that? There are
Y'all
some
stay,
marriages
y'all
that
stay
are
on the
like.
back there. Sit on the chair. Yeah. my
So
bad.
check this out. There are marriages that's like that, and there are even marriages where the spouse condones it. They're like, yo, all right, you know what? I'm not in the mood. If you want to go out and fuck, somebody else, go ahead, but don't bring none of that home. Don't bring any
Yeah.
crazy disease or anything home. There are marriages that are based on that pillar.
Yeah.
And it works out. They're like, yo, I may not be able to provide for you. So find somebody that do. You'll still have a roof over your head and all that. Just come home clean. That is crazy work to me. You might as well just be divorced. You might as well. I'm serious. You might as well be divorced.
Yeah.
All right, this next, like, check this out. It says, according to a sexless relationship statistics, people who have sex less than once a week are less happy than those who have it more. Well, I mean, that's obvious. That is the most obvious statistic. Now, this next one, on average, married Americans have sex 51 times per year.
51 times per year. That's a small number, man. Shit.
You got to think of how many days are in a year, and you're having sex 51 times a year. I think that
51?
I think that's a point. I think that sounds like numbers where you're down the road in marriage. There's no way within the first year or two you're having sex 51 times a year, because you also have to include how many sessions in a day or at night. You understand what I'm saying? It says a study that included over 26,000 Americans showed that on average, married couples have sex slightly less frequently than once per week. If we take sexless marriage statistics and data and the traditional definition of a sexless marriage, a large part of America is in the clear. Now here's one. Here's one. Couples in sexless marriages consider divorce more often than couples who have regular sex. True or false? Okay, he didn't hear me on that, but
Still.
let me see what else I can read. Okay, so here's what they say are the three common causes of a sexless marriage. It says statistics involving sexless marriage, and psychotherapist Tina Tessina claim that there are three causes of a sexless marriage. First, there could be a lack of communication. Lack of communication is a big one. Then one partner might be too neglectful. Yes,
Or
ignoring
she's
your
just
partner.
getting old.
And finally, one partner in a relationship could have his or her feelings hurt or got turned down too many times. Now, let me ask you something, James. Have you ever turned your wife down for sex? Like, she came on to you and you ever turned her down?
Nah.
Of course. Now, if you did, and what it's saying here is that if you were to type, is one of the three causes is getting turned down too many times. Like, for example, she's sitting there throwing every single hint and clue and sign at you, and you ain't taking the bait. She's going to look at it as, like, oh, he's not attracted to me anymore. You understand what I'm saying? Or if the guy, for example, is laying in bed and he's sitting there making his advances and she's pushing him away saying, yo, I'm not in the mood. He's going to think like she's not attracted to me no more. I'm doing something wrong. And then, like you said, he might just step out and go
Pros.
fulfill his needs somewhere else, which a lot of people are doing. There's a lot. Oh, and here's another one. Here's one that I might have to agree with. Smartphones harm our relationships and intimacy. Smartphones. Do you think smartphones
You froze.
has something to do with it? Yeah, I'm having a connection issue apparently. I've seen a message that popped up, and then you got low bars on your name. But do you think smartphones have a thing to do with this?
Females not wanting to have sex?
Yeah, it says smartphones harm our relationships and intimacy.
True.
Okay, let me read.
Some of them get too preoccupied in their phones, so yeah, you can find that too.
Yeah, it says, according to paper published in the Journal of Psychology and Popular Media Culture, smartphone usage directly correlates to relationship uncertainty. While it would be a stretch to say that it causes a lack of sex in marriage, it is still evident that it does have an adverse effect. I can tell you one adverse effect that a cell phone has. Corn. I'm dead serious. They didn't say it on here, but I'm telling you, corn is one reason. But I think what they're talking about is cell phone addiction. You know, their eyes are so locked
You got to
into
go back into the garage.
their eyes are so locked into whatever they're looking at on their phone that nothing else matters around them.
Yep, and with porn, you can have whatever you want.
Yeah.
Any
Now here's
country.
some facts. Yeah, that's true, and it's free unless you pay an OF subscription, which blows my mind when you can see the shit for free. I never understand that.
Yep.
Now we're going to get down to some actual facts before we get into story time. Matter of fact, let me see how much time I got. I think I might have already killed the half hour. Yeah, I'm at 41 minutes. Jesus. All right, now here are some facts. Now it says when to walk away from a sexless marriage. Now, James, let me ask you. If you're in a sexless marriage, do you think it's time to walk away, like divorce or mess around? Do you think if you're not getting sex in the marriage, is it time to walk away?
I mean, sex doesn't mean it's time to walk away. What is the reason you're not having sex? No?
I think that's the best part. I think walking away is too easy. I think you need to get down to the reason what the fuck is happening, whether it's you or her, something going on with her or something going on with you. I think that
Her dude can just be gay.
That's wild. That's a wild one, but it's not possible. And she finds out the reason why he's not giving it up because he's gay. That right there that has happened more times than not. Believe it or not, she found out her husband's on the down low, and it's like, damn, that's gotta hurt more than anything.
You got some dude named Carlo.
Carlo. What?
Carlo.
Perhaps. I don't know. I mean, it happens more often than you think, though. Now it says when to walk away from a sexless marriage. Hey, Kat, what's going on, man? A long time no see. As you could tell from the caption, we're talking about sexless marriage. Maybe you want to drop a couple of pennies of knowledge on the subject, because I think you're married yourself. You know what I mean? Like, what do you think about a sexless marriage? And anybody who's passing by in the chat, feel free to comment or jump in on this topic. All right, it says this is a grave issue that simply cannot be answered without careful thought and deliberation and advice from a licensed therapist. There needs to be a clear understanding of a person's needs, wishes, and desires, as well as expectations and plans. Then you need to understand what you would be losing and decide whether it's worth it. Because let's just say you've been with this woman or this man, whatever, for 25 years. They gave you some of the best 25 years of your life, but it's getting to a point where they're not putting up. Is it worth leaving that 25 years of work, dedication, because the sex is gone? You understand? This is some real deep shit to divorce somebody, because we all have needs, right? And sex is one of them. But you don't need sex to survive. Is it worth losing a relationship over? You understand what I'm saying?
Yep.
He said not a lot today. It sure is. Yeah, it's a serious shit. Now here's the question we've been looking for, James. How to survive a sexless marriage without cheating. Now, it's going to give us some tips on how to do this. All right. It says one important point is simply working on the marriage and trying to figure out exactly what went wrong. That's what you said earlier. Once the problem has been found, it could potentially be fixed best with professional assistance. Now, I don't believe in going to therapy, but then it could work. Now,
counseling and all that shit.
That costs money. That's why I say I like to solve shit at the lowest level possible. If you and your spouse can solve it together, you guys save a lot of time and especially money. Now, Cat Daddy, you said it's not possible. Okay, so you're saying a marriage cannot survive without sex. I think a lot of people would agree with you on this. You understand? Everybody has their own analogy on whether or not this is possible. It says there are other avenues of approach to explore. An open marriage might be a potential solution if living in a sexless marriage is too much for you. An open marriage. Remember what I just said earlier? That in a marriage that might be sexless, they might just have an agreement to be like, yo, you can mess with other people. Don't get into a relationship. Like, if you want to get your rocks off because I'm not doing it for you, then yeah. But that's a big problem, because what ends up happening in an open marriage is that if you give your spouse a pass to go get it on with someone else and they fall in love with that other person, or that other person gets your wife pregnant,
Yep.
what are you going to do about that? That is risky work. Open relationships, believe it or not, they work for some couples, but it's risky work.
Don't do
Is
that.
it worth is it worth the risk being in an open relationship to save your marriage? Payne, what's going on? You said have a mixed family. It works. Polygamy is growing in numbers right now. Polygamy is big. So a lot of people are seeking solace in having a big mixed family, and it's working. You know, 2 dudes, 2 women, they're sharing each other. It works for some people, but open marriages don't work for everyone. Now, Peyton, I was hoping you were on my last show on the Swingers episode, but I'm glad to see you're doing okay and you're here. You said, I'd love for my husband to get someone pregnant. I want a baby. Ooh.
Who is that?
Okay, no, I get it. I'm not going to get too deep into it, but I
Bring
get
the
what you're
thing off
saying.
the door for daddy.
I get what you're saying, but I mean, as long as you're cool with that, you understand? As long as all parties are cool
Turn
with that, because
left.
me and
Right.
you, we've had this conversation. I know your lifestyle, so if you're cool with it and everybody, all parties, that's dope. You understand what I'm saying? And maybe one day that might just happen. You know, only time will tell. But yeah, mixed families, like Peyton was saying, mixed families do work to help a marriage. You understand what I'm saying?
It's gonna work for a period of time until shit start getting disrespectful. Like, dudes start saying, "Yeah, you're not his mom," you know, or
No. We're talking about, like, for example, open marriages to where one married couple marries into another married couple, and then you have a big polygamous relationship. We're talking about that aspect. That's what we're talking about. That's a thing. That's a thing. Like the swinger lifestyle. You know what I mean? Sharing couples. This is a thing, and there's a mutual understanding in the beginning of this all that they're.
So what if they
you know
both
what I
want to
mean?
go at the same time? No, and what do I do then? You know, but I feel like
I don't
10
know.
1. See?
I don't.
Yeah, we're gonna have fucking
live,
problems.
I don't live that lifestyle. You understand what I'm saying? That's something you have to like look up, but it works for some people. See, Peyton, she said, bringing a third won't fix a broken marriage, though. You have to have a solid marriage first. This is absolutely true, because trying to bring in a third person you're bringing them into a very fragile situation to where they may not want to get caught up in. And you're right.
What if that other person is younger too?
I don't know if age will have a factor into it, because basically, if he's younger, it's basically going to be like, oh, they're just in it for the fun. They're getting their cake and eat it too. It's like being in a prepaid phone contract, no commitment. The third wheel would just be a prepaid phone in a contract phone relationship. Huh?
Yeah, until the young chick kills your wife.
Well, that's a whole nother story. That is a whole nother story.
Yeah, you haven't been watching Tyler Perry's movie, man.
All of Tyler Perry's movies all end the same. Somebody spills the tea, puts out everybody's business during dinner, and then that's exactly how a Tyler Perry movie works, man. It's always the same shit. It says there are other avenues to explore, like the open marriage. It says open marriage might be a potential solution if living in a sexless marriage is too much for you, but you find the idea of leaving your partner or cheating on them even worse. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Because let's just say your spouse has something mentally going on with her, or physically something going on with her, but in your mind, you're thinking, oh, she's just messing around with somebody, she's not putting out. And then you leave her, and none of that shit you would think it was true. You just sat there and you just divorced perhaps the best thing you ever had because she's not putting out. That's what I'm saying. Solve the problem on the lowest level possible. Find out the root of the problem, and then if it has to go to therapy, then take it to therapy. And if it has to go to more extremes, like
Uncle Phil.
open marriages. Dr. Phil, man, Dr. Phil's a virgin.
I
don't know. I don't know if Dr. Phil, no, he probably does deal in that avenue. There are sex therapists out there that do help couples rekindle that flame. Now, this is another question. How long do sexless marriages last? There's some that can last forever. Now, it says a sexless marriage can last for a very long time. The important thing to remember is that the reason you're not having sex is often more important than the actual lack of. If there is a lack of closeness and intimacy in the marriage, of which a lack of sex is a symptom, then you can expect that marriage to last long. However, if everything is going great, but perhaps you can't have sex for reasons unrelated to your connection with your partner, then an adequately handled marriage like this can last a long time. Let's just say the dude has ED. He can't get it up no more. Let's just say she hit menopause. She's just not in the mood anymore. You understand what I'm saying?
At that point, you gotta say your goodbyes, you know?
That's fucking crazy.
Like, I don't need somebody to chat with all the rest of the days of my life. You know?
So you're saying if your wife hits a point, if it hits a, you're saying if it hits a point where your wife no longer wants to do, she's just not in that phase anymore. Are you saying hasta la vista?
Yeah. How is that gonna help me? She not wanting to do.
You're not wrong. Because everybody have wants and needs. You understand what I'm saying? You're not
and
wrong.
I'm a man. You know?
If you're gonna, all I'm saying is this, James. If you're gonna go that route, right? Just know, like, if you tell her, "I'm done," I can't do this no more. I have needs, because that's always the number one proponent. I have needs. Do it the right way. If you're gonna leave her for that, I know that sounds crazy, but here's the thing: people don't understand is that you two are adults. Other people will be like, "Oh, that's wrong. You're wrong for that." You know what I mean? No.
Nah, dude, I'm just gonna dip.
You just dip. Just don't.
I'm not gonna say anything. Yep.
So you're just gonna leave a note. Hey, there's $20 on the counter. I'm out. That's fucking crazy.
That's $20 less for the rent.
And then it's got other questions. Can a sexless marriage survive? Can a marriage survive without intimacy? How do you deal with a sexless marriage? And how does a sexless marriage affect a man? Now, I'm going to read that one real quick. How does a sexless marriage affect a man? Because it seems like, to me, men are more affected by this. It says it depends on the man. Yeah. The need for sexual fulfillment is real in both men and women, but all of us react differently under different circumstances. The factors that lead to a lack of sex, like one's libido and the stability of a marriage, needs to be considered before one can analyze how the lack of sex in marriage affects a person. Like I said, guys would leave. Women, it's kind of a gray area. Some women will leave. Some women would cope and deal with it.
Cheating on your ass.
Not all the time, though. It's not always possible.
What is a cope?
But do people cope nowadays? Probably.
Ain't nobody know about that shit.
No. Okay, so there's different ways of coping. Some people, coping is just going to sleep around. That's their coping mechanism.
I cope by cheating.
That's your coping. See, so you just said nobody knows about cope, but see, coping is not just sitting there crying and shit, but acting out is a coping mechanism. Going out and doing whatever it is to make you feel wholesome again. That's coping.
Yeah, whatever it takes. I'll be back before midnight.
All right, so we're going to find out. I got some stories pulled up from BuzzFeed from an article back in 2023 where people revealed what their sexless marriages are really like, and they are commended for their honesty. So here we go, James. We're going to read some stories, and we're going to see if anything we just spoke about and brought up has some sort of correlation. So here's the first story, all right? Bet. Number 1, my partner was born with a medical condition that cut his lifespan in half. In the end, he will most likely have a ton of health problems, and sex may not be in the equation for whatever reason. He is my best friend. I will love him and care for him until the end, and then past the end. I don't care if I have to change his diaper and wipe his ass, and I don't care if if dementia comes for him. I'll be there holding his hand. So this woman is with a partner who I guess no longer can have sex and probably has some sort of an illness. To her, it don't matter. She said to herself, she will wipe his ass. If he has dementia, it don't matter. Sex is not a big deal to her. Some people can deal with this because, again, there are people who didn't base their relationships on sex.
Don't get me wrong, though. A lot of people can deal with it until that point, you know? What happens if Big Randy pulled up on her and she's somehow in the mood at that point in time? Think she gonna say no?
You're right.
and then she gonna get
Yeah,
addicted.
addicted.
Yeah,
Yeah, I get
yeah,
it.
yeah, yeah,
Look,
yeah.
you're not wrong. It's like taking care of a spouse who's disabled, right? I've heard
Hmm.
cases where people could not take it anymore. They couldn't take the medical bills and all the things they have to do because their spouse is no longer able to move, walk, or whatever, and people walked away from that. I know somebody that
Not
has
able to
happened
do the
to, and it's
do.
fucked up. It's not even a fact about having that's one of the factors, but one of the other
Oh,
factors
the
is
most important fact.
it's like yeah, it is the most important, I guess. But it's like taking care of your spouse who's like back in a baby state. You have to do everything for them. Some people can't handle that and they leave. They're like, yo, I can't
Yeah,
do this. I can't be pushing you in the wheelchair and grabbing things for you. But you don't realize you made that vow when you got married. You know, sickness and health. We
yeah.
tend
We
to
all say
forget
that
that
shit.
shit.
Yeah, we all say that shit.
Yeah,
That's
but
just
that's serious.
that's for that day.
Especially if you're being married under God. You understand what I'm saying? That's where these vows come from. You're making these vows to your spouse and under God. And people, yeah, vows are broken. This is true. You know what I mean? But people don't realize how deep these vows really are. All right, I got another story for you guys. I've spent sometimes a sexless marriage for many reasons. Now my libido has lowered and my penis never gets fully hard unless I have to piss at 4 a.m. That's why I work. But in our marriage, still has, and she always had mutual respect, love, and intimacy. Sex is super important for some people and less so for others. Variety makes the world go round. So this guy can't get it up no more. And he says sex is not important. And he's basically saying that his wife is okay with this. I don't know how many women are going to be okay with the idea that their men have ED and how they're going to deal with that. Because I'm pretty sure there's what else can you do besides sex to get around a guy that can't get it up no more? What can you possibly do? But I think he has made peace with himself. And I think it sounds like to me that his wife has made peace with the fact that she may not have sex with her husband because he can't get it hard no more. But that's why toys exist. Get a fucking toy. Have them put the strap on. I don't know. Whatever works, man. Whatever works. All right. I got another story. This one sounds a little, let me see how long. I don't like reading a lot of long stories on here, but I'm going to read this one. This one seems pretty not as lengthy. So this third story, in case you're joining me, people on the chat, we're talking about sexless marriages, going over some statistics and going over some stories from people who are in the situation or has been. All right, this third story, my marriage was sexless because my ex-wife was so involved in the Baltimore BDSM community that she no longer had the time, energy, or interest in fucking me. Now, the BDSM was the shiny new toy. To her, it wasn't entirely sexual, but to me, it was intimate. I wasn't into it, and no amount of compromise or meeting halfway in the bedroom was enough for her to feel like I was genuinely into her new thing. So I became the component to be jettisoned. Now, she would spend hours and whole evenings away from home doing non-sexual but intimate activities with BDSM partners, while I got to sit home alone wondering how I managed to get this lucky. Boy, you're not lucky. You are done. I think at that point, you guys need help. Either you're going to participate in that shit or you guys need some serious help. This woman's going around participating in BDSM in Baltimore. Nothing sexual, though. But you're sitting there just wondering what the hell's going on. Yeah, I think it's time. I think it's time for you to figure it out. How do you manage to get this unlucky? I don't know. But I tell you what, if my wife was going around BDSMing everybody in the city, and I'm sitting there with my dick in my hand, yeah, I'm done. We're going to have a serious problem. I'm going to be like, what the fuck am I doing? All right, next story. My wife and I do not have regular sex regularly, but that's my fucking number one homie. If I divorce her, I lose my best friend. That shit ain't worth it. Cornhub, excuse me. Ooh. Cornhub is free, but 15 years of friendship, inside jokes, memories, laughs, and someone to watch shitty horror movies with is priceless. This man said, this woman may never give me pussy again, but that is my homie. No matter what, he is sticking with her. It's been 15 years, he said. Now, James, are you thinking like that? This woman ain't giving it up no more. They don't have sex no more, but that's your homie, right? You're sticking with her.
Lying.
Right?
You lying. That's what you gotta say to, make it feel real, You say that and she won't think about your dumb ass cheating. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not saying you're lying, but this dude is like, she's my ride or die. We don't have sex no more, but
everybody has a ride or die until that point.
you know what?
You
You're
know the
not
world
lying.
is real, right? Yeah, the world's a real
Yeah,
place.
it really is. It really is. It really is. Jesus Christ.
Everybody have a breaking point too. You
Everybody
know?
does. Everybody
Yeah.
does. All right, I'm gonna skip this story. This story is a bit long. I'll try not to read such long stories here. This one here, is this? Oh no, this is a good length story. This one here, this story. I'm still in a sexless relationship, and I really don't know what to
No,
do.
baby.
It's been almost 3 years for me. 3 years since they had sex in this relationship. And it started the day she fell and broke her back. She had a couple of operations and they had not helped her at all. She has lost all interest in any kind of intimacy, and I really can't blame her. But when does it become about me? This isn't even close to how I planned on spending the rest of my life. I do love her, and I don't see myself leaving for now. He said he
He
doesn't
said
see
for
himself
now.
leaving for now. Did you catch that shit? He said not
Yeah.
now.
Yeah.
But here's the thing, man. And you know, life is so unexpected. When you marry someone, you don't realize what can happen. You know,
Yep.
untimely demises. You get hurt, she gets hurt, and you're in it. Because remember what I said about those vows: till death do
Yep.
you part, sickness, and
All
then
right, put it
health.
in.
Right?
Put it on inside.
Of course, he
Yeah.
didn't plan on his wife breaking her back. Who the fuck plans
True.
for shit like that? Who sits there and get married to be like, damn, you know what? You might fucking break your coochie one
Yeah.
day.
Don't get
You
me
don't
wrong.
plan for
Some
that.
dudes do. You know. Some dudes do.
That's crazy if you plan that far. Oh man, James left. Come on. Anyway, let me get back to the story. I do love her, and I don't see myself leaving for now. I just can't do that to her. What I miss the most is feeling the warmth of someone when you're wrapped up together. That will be a very bad reason to leave your spouse. Yeah, okay, she hurt her back. She's no longer intimate. And you're thinking about, because in his mind, he's thinking about leaving her. He said not right now. But the fact is, you leave her because she can't put out because of a back injury.
He
is
joined
the
and cut me off.
form. Yeah, I didn't cut you off. I don't know what the fuck happened. I didn't cut
Obviously
you
we
off. It
did.
just, he's not even on the show. He was on there earlier. And Rio was on the show earlier. Yeah, they were both on the show. All right, man, but that's low. If you're gonna if you're thinking about leaving your wife, again, I know you got needs, but if you're leaving your sick wife because she's not putting out, man, that to me is there's a special place in hell
She's
for
not
somebody
able
like
to
that.
do the do.
If you're gonna leave her, do it right. Don't just sit there and walk out on her. But even then, I mean, it takes balls to sit there and tell your wife who you've been together with for a long time and she's hurt that I cannot be with you no more because
Not if you leave a note.
Yeah, it's easy to leave a note and a text, right? That's a shitty way to break up with somebody is with a text message or note, especially your
And
wife.
you block her
been
just
married
after you send a text.
to. You better hope
Pull
there's
up
no
your-
prenup and she.
Put your
You better
new
hope there's no
girlfriend
prenup.
up.
That's fucked up. Meanwhile, you're still married to your wife, so you still haven't even cleaned your mess up yet.
It's okay. You don't need that anymore.
I suppose you don't. All right, I got another story. Your way of thinking is amazing. It says, if my partner was incapable of performing sexually, I would absolutely stay. He is my everything. We are partners, best friends, and lovers. Sex is only one part of the equation, and the other parts more than make up for it. We have had issues over the years on both sides, so when I say we wouldn't leave each other, we know we wouldn't. Now, just because one partner can't perform, it doesn't mean that the other loses their sexuality completely. You can self-perform. So,
You'll be
in other
getting head
words,
for the rest of your life.
you mean getting hand? That's what
It's-
that's what she meant by that. She meant
It's-
that okay, you can't have sex, but you can use your hand.
Ain't nothing wrong with your mouth.
You're right. There is nothing wrong with your
Your
mouth.
back might be broken, but your mouth is okay. You can still
Shit.
talk, right? You still want to eat?
Shit.
Want to go to
Hey,
fancy
head-
restaurants?
Head can go a long way. Head can go it really can. It go a long way. It really can. So the speed, you can still have intimacy. There are still lots of things that could be done. If two people aren't having traditional sex with each other, it doesn't have to be a game changer. It helps if you communicate with your partner. This guy's been married for 30 years. Or this woman's been married for 30 years. Yeah, use your mouth. Your mouth ain't broken. You said that.
Yeah. Over here,
All right.
whining about shit. Just think outside of the box.
Yeah, you're right. Outside the box and in the mouth. Yeah, think inside the mouth. Think outside the box.
Shit.
Oh man. All right, I got another story for you. I've been with my husband for 15 years, with sex petering out to almost nothing a few years ago. I've always had a low libido, so it's not like a cornerstone of my life is missing. But we've been through hell and back together. He is my best friend and has stayed with me through my worst mental health breakdowns without wavering. We love and support each other, and that's more important than occasional boinking. So again, these are one of those relationships that has established the idea that they're not having sex, and that they just move on with life. There's more to it than not having sex. That's cool.
So, yeah, so they all think.
Yeah, well, shit. Again, so in the back of you could be right, because in the back of their minds they're thinking like, "What the fuck is happening? What am I gonna do?"
Nah. He or she did say the right thing. You're not having
Yeah,
sex. I am.
it's true. All right, this next one. My wife was disabled for over 4 years, and I stayed with her. My marriage wasn't based on sex; it was enhanced by it. If she would have lived longer, nothing would have changed. I still love and miss her every day. Wow, that's deep. That's marriage. That's what it's about. You know. This next
What
one
happened?
though is so. Let me go back to that now. He said that his wife was disabled for over 4 years, and he stayed with her. He said, my marriage wasn't based on sex, but it was enhanced by sex. If she would have lived longer, nothing would have changed. I still loved and missed her each day. So she was disabled and passed away, unfortunately, and he stayed with her to her dying breath. But he basically said sex wasn't everything. If he just wished that she was
At some
around
point,
longer.
yeah, at some point, it's not really an everyday thing. Some people could go for months, 9 months, 8 months. No.
I think sex with some sort of a gap is way more pleasurable than having sex every day.
Yep.
It
It
really
definitely
is,
is.
because
Especially with a little fight in between too. Dang.
yeah, I'm serious. It's way more. If you have sex every day, that's great. But that build up, give it a little time in between, man, and then when it
Yeah.
happens, it's way more pleasurable. Way more
Yeah.
pleasurable.
For that spark, you know. We
Yeah.
you don't
Okay.
just want to have just sex. It's not. Yeah, that's not
Yeah.
not a thing.
It's not every day. I mean, we're programmed for it, but doesn't mean you have to do it every day. All right,
Who's
this next
programmed
story.
for it? You got to be a porn star for that shit.
We're taking some Blue Chews and honey packets with the grippy socks.
You're gonna get
Do you
tired.
do
You're
that shit
gonna
every
run
day?
out of positions in a week.
You do. That's what I'm saying. Like, especially if you're having sex every day, just doing it missionary. You know how boring that shit gets? You doing that every day?
Yep.
That's gonna get
Hey,
stale
baby, I'm
very
ready. I'm ready.
quickly.
You know what we're
You
gonna
sitting
do
there,
tonight? Same thing we did last night.
it sound like Pinky in the Brain and shit. You just sitting there like, oh, okay, fine, let me get on. Same shit every fucking day. Same unwashed covers on the bed or whatever. It's the
Yep.
same shit every day. All right, I got another
Fucked up.
story. It is. I've been in a sexless relationship for more than 20 years. I've stayed because I love her more than anything, but it destroyed me and done permanent damage to our relationship. It wasn't a medical issue. It was her needing to be a good wife and mother. Now, according to the mores of her teenage church, it destroyed my self-esteem and my ability to enjoy sex. So she resolved her issues eventually, but I can't undo the damage. So now we're sexless because she wants it, but I've burned it out of myself. We still love each other, but we're more like best friends and roommates than lovers. Whoa. Okay, so
Yeah,
eventually she wanted to put out, and by then it was too late. He was like, yo, I'm tired of waiting. That's
Yeah.
basically what he said. So now they just don't want to have sex. Now they're in a sexless marriage with kids. How are they venting out their frustrations at that point? You know, he waited. She waited
Wait till
till
you see it
later
with another
on.
man. Then that's gonna
Oh, that
spark his
sounds
memory.
like to me, but that sounds like to me the basis for an open relationship. They need to fulfill that somewhere or go to therapy. No, go to therapy first before engaging in an open relationship. Like
You
Peyton
know I
said,
ain't that
the
rich.
third. You're right. I mean, it's cheaper to get a third person to get into the mix, but like Peyton said earlier, it is not the one answer to do all. It's not the one thing. You understand what I'm saying? Like it doesn't work for
Yeah.
everybody. All right, let's see what else we got. What's another one? Let me see. I'm trying to find another story. I mean, actually, hold on. I think there was another set of articles.
Not
10 common
15,
reasons.
right?
15. What?
Said articles.
Okay, there's another one. There's 33 of these, but I'm gonna breeze through them really quick. I'm not reading all 33 stories. This article
I
was
was I
written in
was asking about
2022.
Article 15.
Oh, that's a whole nother story. 33 stories from couples that had little to no sex that are so important to hear because sex is not the be all, the end all of relationships. All right, first story right here. I'm just gonna breeze through this as quick as possible because I got some shit to do. All right. Okay, where's that first story at? And I'm gonna just get right into it. Where is it? Okay, where is it? Okay, here it is. It says warning. There's a disclaimer. This post contains sexual content and mentions of sexual. Oh, okay. Well, I'm gonna skip the ones that have essay in it because I don't need to bring that shit up because that's not what this is about. Anyway, this first story. I have vaginismus, and my husband. What the fuck is vaginismus? That's something I need to look up. And my husband and I have been married for 2 years. We haven't had penetrative sex, but I take care of him and I use toys. Eventually, I would like to have penetrative sex, but there's no rush for it. So I guess she can't have sex regularly through the vagina because she has a condition. But at least she makes effort. She uses toys. Now I'm not big on toys, all right. But again, she's making the effort to please her husband using toys. All right. I don't know what kind of toys it doesn't specify. It doesn't specify exactly who it's on.
She got the problem. Who she using the toys on?
But the thing is that she's making an effort to make it work. You have to give her that.
It sounds kind of sus.
It does. Now I'm gonna.
I know she's not getting toys from Toys R Us.
Possibly. I don't know. Like this next story here. I am sex repulsed, and he's sex indifferent. So we just masturbate for stress relief on occasion and don't involve each other. The bedroom door closed equals I have alone time, be back soon. So they don't even have sex. They just sit there and pleasure themselves. I don't know why. This one person said it's because of trauma, because obviously something happened. And then the other person said it's sex indifferent. I don't know what the hell that means, but they don't even ever have sex. They just take alone time in their room and do their thing. Hey, honey, I'm going to go lock the room up. Don't bother me. Mm-hmm. That to me is crazy work.
Yeah, once you see me inside, don't come in.
Yeah, exactly. All right, this next one. What's the next story here? I'm not reading all 33. I'm just trying to skip on some of these stories.
I'm still cleaning my car. I'm about to go shower in the field to go meet these guys.
This next story. My husband and I have been together for 12 years. We rarely have sex due to my low libido. But honestly, we're happy. We would rather cuddle and fall asleep than force ourselves to get in a good mood. Hey, man, sometimes all it takes is another person's touch is just to be there with them. And sometimes you don't even need sex. You just need somebody there with you, that touch. Now, of course, for you, James, that's not going to be the case. That's definitely not going to be the case. No, of course not. All right.
I'm going to need somebody in that song.
See, that's what I'm saying. Not everybody is the same, people. All right, next story. And excuse me, I'm the beginning of I guess they meant to put in. It's a typo. In the beginning of our relationship, my husband and I were having sex all the time. Now, 10 years later, things did change. Thank goodness my husband is the understanding type. If I'm not in the mood, my husband is satisfied with a good, vigorous back scratch, which I am more than happy to oblige. I am now 18 weeks pregnant, and the belly is getting in the way. Hugs and cuddles make up for sex we aren't getting. Listen, let me tell you something. I don't think scratching my back is going to repress my sexual feelings, but I guess it works for him. I'm horny, scratch my back. Scratch my back. No. Although her back scratches are damn near orgasmic. She gave me a back scratch one day, not because I was sexually repressed. My back was itching. And she scratched my back, and man, that shit had my toes curling. She's got those nails that just kind of hits the right spots. But no, this is one of the examples I gave earlier that says that, husband or wife is understanding. Okay, honey, you don't want to do anything now? Cool, we won't do anything now. And that's it. Yeah, don't happen with everybody.
She can only scratch his back, the side piece. He's going to give him what he wants.
Basically. I think that's pretty much it.
That's all she is, back scratcher.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. Sometimes some people step out mutually or on their own to go find that sexual itch to be scratched.
Come move your car from here.
All right, I'm trying to...
Yeah, my daughter just parked her fucking car in the way.
Oh, that little ass car. I'm about to say
Yeah.
your kid driving.
Yeah.
All right.
She got her little Dodge.
Oh wow! Now check this out. Check this story out. Right.
Mm-hmm.
My husband has a high libido, and mine is low, likely because of
Take
trauma
a chair
and
upstairs.
abuse. Check this out. Check this out. It says my husband has a high libido, and mine is low, likely because of trauma and abuse. Now, luckily, that doesn't really mess with my mouth, so we get creative. He also doesn't take more than 10 minutes to let one off.
Man, weak dude.
Woof.
What was I telling you? What was I telling you?
Yeah, you
was
use your
okay.
mouth.
Shit
Use your
ain't gotta
mouth.
get too weird. You know,
No,
you
it don't.
can't use what God gave you. Use the other thing.
Exactly.
You know?
It's making the effort. Listen, if you can't use your dick, use your mouth. You can't use your cooch, use your mouth. Use your hands. Use something. There are more than one way to pleasure somebody. It doesn't always have to be traditional.
Shooting them in the
sex.
head.
Yeah, I don't know about all
You
that.
want to move on? Move on to God. Yeah. See if he likes you.
Now, this next story, I don't know if I could get jiggy with this shit. It said we currently live 1,000 miles apart, going on 2 years in a long-distance relationship. We call and talk often and support each other through bad days with loving texts. We make up for the lack of regular sex when we visit each other. Ain't no way you live 1,000 miles and you're calling
Sounds like
and texting
Barlow,
each other.
man. It could be true. That's probably Barlow.
Job.
Huh?
Maybe it's their job.
No, it doesn't mention if there's a job or whatnot. They just live far from each other.
Maybe that's why, because of the job.
Or maybe they just really like each other. I don't know. Long distance relationships like that and still work with no sex but great communication. But you got to think, like when they do actually see each other. Nah, that's wild work. But you got to understand when they see each other. When they see each other, their sex is probably like crazy. You understand being that far away from each other? Huh?
That's how we started.
But we weren't really in a long distance relationship. We were an hour away from each other. That's not a long distance relationship.
Yeah, baby.
It's not the same.
Yes, it is.
No. I mean, the idea is there, but I mean, we're only an hour apart. You understand what I'm saying? It's not really something crazy. All right. Anyway, I'm gonna read whatever short story is here. All right. This next one. My wife is asexual.
What about when you were in Georgia? When you were basic?
Okay, that's basic training. That's different.
Your job.
Okay, yeah, but I don't.
You've been married that long?
Yeah, no, she's saying, we were in a long distance relationship. When we met, we were only an hour apart. And she's talking about when I was in basic training, how far we are. That was like 30 days, 30 something days. We're talking.
That is kind of long distance.
Yeah, it is long distance.
I came to see you.
Yeah, okay, that's long distance. But, and again, it ain't like I was sitting there trying to mess with somebody in basic training. I could deal with it. It's 30 fucking days and then some with school and then that's it. But this is
not
different.
easy to do that anyways.
It's not easy, which is why people get caught up doing dumb shit in basic and AIT. I got that. But this is different. This is somebody who lives 1,000 miles away. They probably never even met each other, or they did meet each other and they're just making it work. And like my wife said, it could be because of their jobs.
Yeah.
It's possible. But then you got to think in the back of your mind, what if they're messing with somebody else over there? Can you really go a long distance relationship without doing anything?
Yes.
I'm not saying it's impossible, all right? But in the back of your mind, let me ask you something, James. If you were in a long distance relationship, would you ever have a thought in your mind that the person you're talking to is doing something with someone else thousands of miles away?
Definitely.
I think that'll be in the back of anyone's mind. But of course, you trust them. But everybody has that what if factor, right?
That one Jody,
Not even yeah. Exactly. Everybody has that what if factor because it happens. You understand? But if you trust, you shouldn't be thinking about that. But we're all human, all right? And we all have fight or flight and we have our guards up. You're going to think about that maybe at least one time. All right, this next story, my wife is asexual and I'm hypersexual. So we open our relationships. We get all the love and companionship at home. I got to go to a swingers club for sex. Where's Peyton at? Why she wasn't here when this question came up? So in other words, his wife don't put out and he is hypersexual. Like his libido is high. He has to have sex. She's not putting out. So they decided to open their relationship. I said this earlier. One of the options people have is that they invite other people in to satisfy. Okay, my wife's not putting out. My husband's not putting out. All right, let's do this. You can go and do what you want to do. We're still married. You can do what you want to do. I'll do what I do. Just don't bring no nasty shit home. And some couples actually agree to this shit.
Yeah.
It works. It works. Oh, speaking of, hey, hun, you need to listen to this. Here's another open relationship story. But this one is a little interesting. My partner and I have been in a long-distance relationship over the last 6 years. We decided to keep our relationship open so that we could satisfy our needs as we need it. Didn't I say that there's always a chance in a long-distance relationship that someone is messing around with each other? So here's the thing. They decided they've been together this long for 6 fucking years, long distance. But they have needs. And they're like, bet, you go mess with someone, like we're still together, long distance, I don't know how, but you do you and I do me. It says, he and I recognize the level of sexual need and worked on communicating and compromising to meet the needs of both parties. They had a frank discussion with your partner and be willing to compromise for each other's benefits. If there's an incongruence in sex drives, then a licensed sex or even marriage counselor can help discovering new ways of transitioning those much needed bedroom feelings and expectations. Wow, that's crazy. So they had a mutual agreement, but they were nice enough to recommend a therapist if needed, a sexual therapist. Now, do you think a sexual therapist is necessary if it came down to that? Or do you believe that it
depends on how much you're paying.
No, forget the pay. Let's just, the fact that either you can solve the issues on your own at the lowest level, or you need outside help to help out. Do you believe that's necessary?
Some chicks, you might need that outside help, you know?
Perhaps. You just might. You just might need it. What the hell is this? Okay, I got one. I got another story.
Yeah, I'm going on a real quick and come back.
We talked about our sexuality a lot without judging each other. What erotica you been watching? Corn you're watching? So I was jerking it earlier, and I'm thinking about getting a new toy. It feels like we have a strong sexual connection even though we're not always fucking. We just understand that life is busy and complicated. We have different sex lives and understand that it's normal to be attracted to other people. I think couples forget that we still have our own independent sexuality and we don't own every part of ourselves to another person, which is absolutely, I guess, true. Yeah. So they just like, you know what, just get toys. You know what? I need what I need. I'm just gonna use a goddamn toy. All right, let me see. All right, hold on. I'm trying to find another. I think we're almost done here. Yeah, I think we're done. Actually, no, I got one more story and I'm wrapping this up, people. What the hell is an aegeosexual? AEGOSEXUAL. Okay, let me look this up because I've never heard this term before. An agosexual. Hold on, I'm gonna look this up. Agosexual, because this is a new term for me. I told you I learned so much from this show, and it's my own show. I'm gonna read this story, Captain James, and I'm done with the show. All right. An agosexual is individuals that identify as fictosexuality to emphasize their preference for fictional objects or attraction. Oh, okay. Oh, this is just people with just sexual fantasies but do not desire sexual activity. Oh, these are just people that just fantasize about shit all day. They don't want to do anything but just fantasize. So anyway, this last story, people, is this person is an agosexual and he's got a low sex drive. We totally compatible mentally and emotionally and intellectually. And the only way we don't really need, we don't really match up is physically. And that's the one thing we're both okay with. I'm okay having conversations about what opening up our relationship would look like. But so far, he's not willing to go that route. So here we are, and we're doing pretty well. I guess they're cool with that shit. Listen, they thought about it. They thought about opening a relationship, and they were just like, nah, you know what? We're good to go. We're good. We don't need help. I think we're good to go. You can't make this shit up. Listen, my final word is this: sexless marriages can work if both parties are willing to make some sort of compromise, communicate. Communication is definitely key, people. If you notice that your spouse or whatever is not putting out, talk. Don't just sit there and take the easy road out and go mess around or make assumptions, right? Making assumptions like, she or he is cheating on me. You're assuming. You don't even know what's going on. You haven't even investigated. You haven't spoke. Ask questions is the beginning, the foundation of trying to figure out what the problem is. Like I said, if you're that quick to run out and go mess with somebody else, I don't think you were really much in love with this person to begin with. Yeah, you can sit there and be like, oh, I need to have my needs and my wants. What about me? What about me? What about me? When you're married, it's not just about you anymore. It's about you and that person. So that's why you need to communicate, find out what's the problem. A lot of marriages dissolve just based on the lack of communication. This is a true story. That's a true story. Anyway, I'm done with the episode. An hour and 25 minutes is good enough for me. Captain James, of course, thanks for sticking around on the show.
Yeah, man. You already know.
All right. And I had Skinless was on the show earlier. Rio was on the show. I want to thank them. They are also my two co-hosts and executive producers that stopped by. Of course, like I said, whether you're here for a minute, an hour, whatever, I do appreciate the stopping by and all the likes and stuff like that. Tomorrow will be an episode, same time, same place. I don't know how long it's going to be.
Tomorrow?
I have to get up early. Yeah, tomorrow will be an episode. So my household goods come in tomorrow, so I'm not working tomorrow. I'm going to be home, so I'll be able to do a show tomorrow, same time.
Okay, nice.
I'll be doing, is there such thing as a stupid question? I usually do that on Mondays, which is my Monday. So anyway, stay tuned for that. We are kicking off the season strong with season 21, 501 episodes. Have a good night, everybody. All right, man. I'll catch you tomorrow, whatever.
One, not that one. The black one. All right, baby.
What?
No,
okay,
not you. I'm
talking
talking to my daughter.
No, I got you.
All right, bro.
All right, man. Have a good one. All right, and for the rest of you, have a good rest of your weekend. And if you do find yourself in a relationship with no sex, all is not over. You need to communicate, and that shit is super important. And you will learn a lot if you just simply communicate and find out what the problem is versus making the problem so much worse. All right. If you missed this show, the show will be available on Spotify in audio, right? Or wherever you listen to podcasts. Definitely check it out. And I have over 500 episodes now on Spotify, as well as any other platform, Apple Podcasts, Amazon Music, YouTube. It's all on there. So if you miss any of my shows or just want to catch it, follow me on YouTube, Daily Mind Podcast. Easy to find me. Type it up. You'll find some shows on there, a couple of shorts and some other things. Anyway, I got to go. I got to make breakfast. It's early in the morning. And then I got to go do my 10,000 steps because I'm old. Have a good weekend, everybody. And we will do this again next time. See you later. Peace out.